Hi, how are you? For today's video, we're going to be talking about the Met Gala 2024. This video is going to be divided into 3 parts. On the first part, I want to talk about what I was expecting to see on this Met Gala 2024, or what were some of my predictions for this Met Gala 2024. I will also explain a little bit of the theme and the dress code for this Met Gala 2024. The second part of this video is going to be, we're going to review the clothing, okay? The fashion. And then the third part, I'm going to show you some of the designs that I created as soon as I heard what the dress code was going to be. So if you want to skip to a specific part, the timestamps that are going to be down below on the description. So let's start the Met Gala. Mama, this is supposed to be the Olympics of fashion. This is the Super Bowl. This is the time of the year to go all out on the fashion. This is the one night of the year that we celebrate fashion a lo grande, you know? So for those of you who don't know, the Met, or the Metropolitan Museum of Arts, is a museum. And what they do in a museum, they show stuff, they do exhibits. This year, the Costume Institute is doing an exhibit like every year. But this year's theme for the exhibit is Sleeping Beauties, Reawakening Fashion. If you go to Vogue's YouTube channel, you will see that they uploaded a video explaining more or less what can you expect if you go to see the exhibit and what was the purpose or the goal of the exhibit overall. They explained that what they're trying to do is showcase very old pieces of clothing and how can these pieces of clothing be preserved, and how over time these pieces of clothing become so delicate that a lot of them you cannot wear them again. So that's what they're doing. They're reawakening fashion. They're showcasing old pieces of clothing to the new public, right? Does that make sense? If you want to learn more about the actual exhibit, you can go to Vogue's YouTube channel and look for the video. I'm gonna link it down below just so you can have a better idea of what was the exhibit about. Again, the theme for the exhibit is Sleeping Beauties, Reawakening Fashion. We must note that the theme of the exhibit and the dress code are not the same thing. The theme of the exhibit is one thing and the dress code is another thing. I explained what the theme was. Now let's talk about the dress code. The dress code, I think, is very self-explanatory. It's how you're supposed to go dressed. It's the dress code. So the dress code was the Garden of Time. So for those of you who don't know, the Garden of Time was inspired by J.G. Ballard's short story of the same name. When I first read it, it reminded me of, you know, that movie In Time with Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried? It's something like that, but in a garden. I will explain to you what the story was about. So we have Count Axel. He lives in a very luxurious and expensive villa with his wife. Here's the villa. They have a garden, and in the garden you can find a lake, a bridge, and a pavilion. So the villa and the garden were surrounded by walls, and outside the walls was a big plain of nothing. So Count Axel, one day he's looking from his terrace at the end and he sees an army approaching him. The army was not only composed of soldiers but of normal or regular men and women. He goes down to his garden, and in his garden he has these thyme flowers. What are thyme flowers? The thyme flowers were crystal flowers that when you pluck them from the stem, they could reverse time. So they were magical flowers. So he has this army of people approaching him, and every time he sees the army of people approaching him, he plucks a flower. The thing is that he realizes that he's running out of flowers. So he cannot keep the army of people away for much longer. And when all of this is happening, he comes to the realization that he was running out of time and that eventually the garden and the villa and everything was going to die. So just as he predicted, he ran out of flowers. His wife plucked the last flower, and at the end the garden and everything died. The army of people approached the villa, and surrounding them was a bush of thorns, and inside the bush of thorns were 2 statues. The 2 statues were Axel and his wife. They had turned into 2 statues. Okay, so that's pretty much the story. I think the story can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. For me, when I read it, my interpretation was how nobody can escape something as inevitable as death. Not even the richest person on earth can escape death or perishing. That's how I interpret it. But I saw somebody that said that the point of the short story was to showcase the end of aristocracy, and I see that as well. But again, it's a story, so people can interpreted in a lot of different ways, but the main topics of the story is the garden, the crystal flowers specifically, the topic of time, and the topic of arriving to the end of time, if that makes sense. Because this story is very open to interpretation, obviously we're going to see a lot of people at the Met Gala interpreting in a lot of different ways. So remember, the theme of the exhibition, the theme of the things that you see inside the museum, that's the exhibition. The theme of the exhibition is Sleeping Beauties, Reawakening Fashion, and the dress code, how you are supposed to get dressed. Dress code is the Garden of Time, based on the story. That being said, I think it was very expected to see people not follow the dress code, but follow the theme of the museum, even though that wasn't the dress code. Now, let's talk about what I wanted to see on the Met Gala. I'm going to show you the notes that I made on my phone with the date. So you can see I wrote this before the day of the Met Gala, and I even made a Pinterest board with some of the things that I expected to see in the Met Gala. I will show you the screen recording with the date so you can see that I made this before the Met Gala happened. Also, I made a TikTok with a few of the things that I was expecting as well, and a lot of people commented a lot of interesting things, so I want to talk about that as well. First on the list I wrote Adam and Eve, apple as a purse. Okay, this is before I read the story. Okay, this is like my first impression when I hear the Garden of Time. What's the first thing that I thought about was Adam and Eve. And you might say, but why? Why Adam and Eve? Well, Adam and Eve, they were in a garden and they were created at the beginning of time. If you believe in Christian religion, that's what they believe. That in the beginning of time, God created Adam and Eve. So when I see the Garden of Time, that's literally the first thing that came to my head. Remember, this was before I read the story. The other thing that I wanted to see was big hats. There's a lot that you can do with hats. You can wear a flower as a hat, and the other thing that I was expecting people to maybe interpret was fruits, because when you say garden, there might be fruits in the garden, you see? So I was expecting big hats with flowers and big hats with fruits. The other thing that I definitely wanted to see was a dress as a blossoming flower, because again, garden flower. I did not want to see dresses with flowers stuck to them. No, I wanted to see an actual dress as a blossoming flower, you see? Just to take it up a notch. There's ways that you can take a very obvious or simple dress code and elevate it. Another thing I was expecting was a dress with petals at the bottom of the dress. More like a flower upside down. The other thing I was expecting was somebody to dress like this dress from Miss Puerto Rico 2019. I know that this dress might look a little bit too costumey, but again, she wore this for Miss Universe. But I wanted to see something like this. I feel like this one goes hand in hand with the blossoming flower one, but I wanted to see something big and grand like this one. More high fashion, but something like this idea. The other thing I was expecting was somebody dressed as a fairy or like Tinkerbell type of vibes. Another thing I was expecting was mushrooms, because a garden, even if in the story they don't mention mushrooms, when you have a garden, mushrooms blossom. And even though that the story was not about mushrooms, the fact that he had a whole garden, like in the story they don't mention that the only flower in the garden was the time flower or the crystal flowers. They mentioned that he had a garden, so you can assume that not only he had the time / crystal flowers, but he also had other stuff in the garden. So I thought somebody was going to say, oh, garden, mushroom. I wanted to see dresses very Hunger Games capital coded. What does that mean? Extravaganza. I wanted to see something over the top, like in the capital of the Hunger Games. They were over the top, so over the top to almost ridiculous. The other thing that I was expecting, I wanted to see somebody doing the stages of the flower, meaning the seed, the bud, and then a flower. It will be a reveal, something very similar to what Lady Gaga did with that pink and black dress. But instead of that, it will be like they will start with maybe a brown round type of dress, then they will do a reveal, you have like a little bud, and then at the end a blossoming flower. Another thing that I was expecting was to see a lot of insects, because again, it's a garden, so you're going to have spiders and butterflies. So I also wanted to see if somebody did the stages of a butterfly, being the first one a worm, and then they will do a reveal to a butterfly. That would have been, yes, I would have loved that. Another thing that I wanted to see was a lot of reveals, because the dress code seems very basic, very simple. The Garden of Time is flowers for spring. I was expecting for people to try to elevate it, and instead of just giving a boring flower dress, they will do a reveal. The other thing I wanted to see was an actual living plant in a dress, inside a dress. I was waiting for Jared Leto to show up. Say what you want about Jared Leto, but he always takes it up a notch. And I thought that he was going to be the one to dress as a tree. I thought there's going to be somebody that's going to take it that far, just to be funny. For the makeup, I wanted to see flower, carnival, very beautiful type of makeup. I really was expecting that. Another thing I wanted to see, because again, the dress code is the Garden of Time, was very earthy designs with a lot of that color palette of earth. The other thing that I was expecting to see, given that the theme of the museum was Sleeping Beauty's Reawakening Fashion and the dress code was the Garden of Time, I was expecting somebody to combine both of them and to use or wear archive designs that were actually related with the dress code. So that way you will kill two birds with one stone, because you will do, oh, I'm reawakening fashion, I'm wearing a very old vintage archive clothing piece, but it also goes well with the dress code. The other thing that I was expecting to see was wilted flower dresses, or flowers that have perish, because again, that goes well with the dress code being the Garden of Time. I wanted to see dresses made from organic materials that were very fragile, and that at the end of the night that dress die, because it's either made of real plants, real flowers, or something like that. The other thing that I wanted to see was flower jeweled crystal pieces, because again, the flowers, the time flowers of the story are made of crystals. So I wanted to see somebody wearing a very extravagant headpiece. Maybe the dress was simple, but the headpiece was something very extravagant, made of crystals and flowers. Another thing that I first thought of when I heard that the dress code was going to be the Garden of Time, my mind went immediately to the Giambattista Valli 2023 spring collection. If somebody didn't want it to go all out, they wanted to go more simple, the simplest thing I wanted to see was something like this, if that makes sense. Some of the things that I also posted on my TikTok that I was expecting to see, let's go through them.
This is what I want to see! 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 This is what I want to see!
Okay, so now let's get to the actual fashion clothing that your favorite celebrity wore. Before I start, girl, it's not that serious. Before you make a comment about like, well, actually, they look very good in that dress, it's not that serious. Remember, the celebrities don't care about you, okay? If I say that I didn't like a dress, that's my opinion.
That's my opinion!
It's not that serious, okay? So don't take it too personally. That being said, let's start. We're starting off strong with Miss Zendaya. So Miss Zendaya this year was actually a co-chair. So remember, the main co-chair is Anna Wintour. The other 4 co-chairs this year was Zendaya, Bad Bunny, Jennifer Lopez, and Chris Hemsworth. So think of them as like the 4 other hosts besides Anna Wintour of the party, okay? I read somewhere that they actually helped to organize the event when it comes to the food and the decoration of the actual actual event inside. So yeah, the co-shares are important. So I expect to see every co-share following the dress code. But we start off strong with Miss Zendaya. Look at her. She's stunning. And see, she did grapes. And I called it. I said there was going to be fruits. I thought I was gonna see fruit hats, but regardless, I said fruits. I think she looks stunning, and her makeup, yeah, yes, she looks very striking. We're going to categorize every outfit into boring, okay, or slay. This is definitely a slay. Next, Lana Del Rey. Oh my god, girl. When I saw that Lana Del Rey was going this year again, I was like, oh my god, I just want her to be or to follow the dress code. Because remember that time, I don't remember what was the event, but that time that she said, oh, I just bought this dress from the mall.
You're wearing?
I am wearing, it's called, I think it's a designer called Aiden Maddox. We actually just got it from the mall, so yeah.
I was like, Lana, no, don't do that this year. And I love Lana, so I was really waiting to see her. And she followed the dress code. I mean, look at her. I saw somebody on TikTok said that she looks like Hanami from Jujutsu Kaisen.
You know who this motherfucker look like, low-key? Look!
I love the comparison. She kind of looks like Hanami from Jujutsu Kaisen, but she followed the dress code. You know what this reminded me of? I thought it was like the last flower. Everything has decayed and she's holding the last flower. I love it. The shoes were very out there. It's a slay. Next, we have Dula Peep.
Dula Peep, I'm sorry.
Wearing Marc Jacobs. She looks beautiful. She is a beautiful lady. And I see that here on the side, she has like a flower lace thing going on. But is she following the dress code? I don't think so. So I'm just gonna say it's okay. Because remember, if we have a dress code, the point to have a dress code is to follow it.
Now check that.
In my opinion, because if let's say I throw a birthday party and the dress code for my birthday party is SpongeBob SquarePants. You can come as anything from SpongeBob SquarePants. It can be a character, you can come as a hamburger, it doesn't matter. But the dress code is SpongeBob SquarePants. And I invite you and you come to my birthday dressed as a Disney princess. You're going to look beautiful, but are you following the dress code? No. Next, we have Ariana Grande. Here you cannot see it well, but when I was watching the stream, because I actually watched the Vogue stream, this top part of her dress looks iridescent, like pearly type of white. And I know that in the Garden of Time there's a mention of a pearl, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there's a sentence where they say that the flower had shrunken into a frozen pearl. So I don't know if from there is that she got the idea of wearing something that looked like a pearl. I just wish it was a little bit more snatched, because it looks like it's almost a little bit too big for her. And I love that she took a risk on the makeup. She actually incorporated like some white petals on her makeup over here. I like it, but is it a slay? I don't think it's a slay. I think it's okay. I also think that her hair color is too similar to her skin tone, so it's washing her out a little bit. The next one is Gigi Hadid wearing Tom Brownie. When I first saw this, I don't like the color palette. Like the white, black, and yellow just seems a little bit boring. But then I saw her interview with Vogue and she explains that she shows the color yellow for the flowers because it's her favorite color. If that's her favorite color and she shows it, then you know, that's her choice. And when you look up at the flowers are actually with like little crystals. So she said it was a reference to the crystal flower or the time flower of the short story The Garden of Time. So she followed the dress code, she did her assignment, she read the story, which I appreciate. Me personally, I don't like the combination of colors. If the flower was another color, I think I would have loved it more. But I'm gonna say it's a slay because she followed the dress code. Next we have Kim Kardashian.
Kim Kardashian.
Oh my god, girl. When I saw her on the red carpet, I was like, she's going to die. It looked like she couldn't breathe. Like her waist was so snatched that you could see that she was having trouble breathing. Like, I know I said I wanted to see people go all out, but calm down, Kim. It's not that serious. I think the dress is beautiful. I don't like the sweater because why? And then she gave her explanation. She said something along the lines of like, oh, I was running out of time and I grabbed my boyfriend's sweater and I just ran out.
This is like, what did we say? The wildest night of my life in a garden. And I just ran out and grabbed my boyfriend's sweater and threw it on and had to get to work. My hair is all messed up.
Like what? I think it would have been more beautiful without the sweater and if the dress was another color, because again, it's a garden. So I want to see colors. It's a garden. I want to see color. She followed the dress code, I guess. I'm gonna say it's okay. Next. Tyla. Girl, remember how I said I wanted to see a dress made of organic materials? This, she's wearing sand. And then as a purse, she's wearing an hourglass. Like she grabbed the concept of time and she's wearing organic materials. Like you know that at the end of this night, this dress might come apart because it's just made out of sand. So it's just so clever and so good. Yes, this is a slay. This one, Elizabeth Debicki. When I saw her on the stream, she looked very breathtaking. She looked very beautiful because she was wearing like a very long hair. And I don't know, that combination of color looked very beautiful on her. She has a flower as a headpiece, so I guess she's following the dress code. Yes, it's a slay. Next we have Barry Keoghan. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Here, I think that he's trying to be Count Axel, who is the main character of the Garden of Time story. I love that he's wearing velvet. I believe this is velvet because in the story the Count Axel is described as wearing a black velvet jacket or something, and I love that he didn't wear black and he looks very of that time, like very aristocratic. So this is a very good slay for him. He nailed it. He understood, he nailed it, I love it. And I saw some people saying that he looked like the Mad Hatter of Alice in Wonderland. I see it, but that's not a bad thing. So I think he's slayed. Cardi B wearing windows in? Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know.
Who made this?
I feel amazing. It's this amazing designer. They're Asian and everything.
She brought us sights, which I appreciate. Like she stopped the carpet. When it was her time to take pictures, she stopped everybody. And I love that. But again, black, a garden, black. I don't know if this was like just any color, any spring color. I think I would have loved them more.
So after I recorded this video, the behind the scenes Cardi B getting ready for the Met Gala video came out. And in that video, we can see that she was in between choosing a black dress or a blue dress. And the reason why she chose the black dress was because she wanted to do something with the concept of time. Apparently, she was planning on wearing prosthetics to make herself look older. Again, just she wanted to incorporate that concept of time or of passing time. And that's why she was wearing all black. But then at the end she decided to not wear the prosthetics, so when we see only the black dress, that's why it feels that it's not following the dress code. And it's because she kind of like didn't do the concept or the final look that she was planning to do.
Is she following the dress code? I don't know, but she made me feel something. Okay, next, Emily Ratajkowski. I don't know, I guess she's following the dress code. Like I see a flower in the dress and she's naked, but again, this is a garden. I don't understand why I saw so much black and so many nude color. Like I don't want to see it. I want to see color. It's a garden. So this one is okay. I'm just gonna say it's okay. Colman Domingo. I think he really brought it, and he's wearing the flower that I believe inspired the look. Yes, it's a slay. Rauw Alejandro. I think I've seen Rauw Alejandro taking risks when it comes to fashion. I was expecting a little bit more from him. That being said though, he did kind of follow the dress code, and I appreciate that he didn't wear a black tux. So okay, it's okay. Now Kendall Jenner wearing vintage Givenchy. When I saw that she was wearing this, I was like, okay, so she didn't follow the dress code, but she followed the theme of the exhibit being Sleeping Beauty Reawakening fashion, because she wears wearing something vintage, right? But then on the interview, she said when the lady asked her like, oh, how do you put together like what you're wearing with the dress code being the Garden of Time, she said that the first thing that came to her mind when she heard that the dress code was the Garden of Time was something archived.
So tell me about tonight's theme and like, what does the Garden of Time mean to you?
I think that it was, for me, when I heard it, the first thing I thought of was something archival. It kind of goes with the Garden of Time theme, and
of course.
Yeah.
Really? The first thing that came to your mind when you hear the phrase Garden of Time is archive. It's not flowers and it's not clocks. Why is she lying? Like, she could have said, you know what? I did not follow the dress code so much. I chose to follow the theme of the exhibit being Sleeping Beauty's reawakening fashion, and because this dress has never been worn, I thought that it would be a good chance for me to wear it. If she would have said that, I would be like, okay, like she didn't follow the dress code, but she looks stunning and she followed the theme of the Met Gala, even though that wasn't the excitement. But her lying and saying that the first thing that came to her mind when she heard the Garden of Time was archived, like, girl, please. Stop. That being said though, she looks very beautiful. Did she follow the dress code? No. So I'm gonna say okay.
I'm wearing Givenchy by Alexander McQueen. It's 1999 archival, never been worn by a human.
The next one we have is Sydney Sweeney wearing custom Miu Miu. So Sydney, when I saw her, I thought it was Billie Eilish. I know a wig when I see one. That being said, she looks beautiful because she's a very beautiful girl. I think the black hair really suits her. And the dress, I think she took a more dark approach. I think she followed the dress code. It's okay. Next we have Sarah Jessica Parker. This, I don't know. I'm waiting for the reference. I thought it was something like a bird cage or something like that. It's okay. FKA Twigs, she looks stunning. I love this look. Does it follow the dress code? I don't think so. She looks beautiful though. Like, I love the makeup, but it looks like it was supposed to be worn at a different event, not necessarily the Met Gala. Kylie Jenner. Girl, this is a bridal gown. Why? Rosalia wearing black. The name Rosalia, for those of you that don't know Spanish, Rosa means rose. I wanted to see her on this outfit of all floral, no face, because her name is Rosalia. This was her chance to become her name. The dress code, the Garden of Time, could have gone so well with her because she is Rosalia, like she's the rose, and she didn't took the chance. She decided to wear black.
Cuando yo vi que decían que el theme era Sleeping Beauty, pues yo pensaba, bueno, lo primero que me viene a la cabeza son los sueños. Entonces, cuando uno está a punto de dormirse, cierra los ojos, lo primero que ves es darkness. It's the color black.
But then again, on her interview, I saw that she said that black was the color of the night. I don't know if there's like some letter that they get from Anna Wintour with the colors that she wants to see, because I saw a lot of black and that was the color I wanted to see the least, because the dress code is the Garden of Time, garden, but she wore black. No, this is no, boring, no. Jennifer Lopez, oh my god, she's one of the co-chairs of the Met Gala, and I feel like I've seen her on this exact dress a lot of times.
You can't keep getting away with this! You can't keep getting away with it!
She looks beautiful though, because she is stunning and she looks very beautiful. Like, she can do glam very well. But is she following the dress code? No, and her hair. Why?
Taking my hair out like this, it reminds me like when I was 16 in the Bronx, running up and down the block. That crazy little girl who used to be wild and no limits, all dreams and
Why she's not wearing something very fabulous? No, I wanted to see more from the co-chair. Gwendolyn Christie. I really love this outfit. I like the hair and I like the grand of it. That being said though, is she following the dress code? I don't think so. So I think if the cape that she has over, if they had made that cape pink and maybe put some flowers in it, or instead of having stripes, have like flowers included in the fabric, it would have been a different story. But overall, it's a slay. I have to say it. Is she following the dress code? No. Zendaya, she came for a second time, almost at the end, and she wore this. Remember when I said I thought somebody was gonna wear a literal bouquet of flowers? She did it. It's a slay. Amelia Gray Hamlin. I don't know who she is, but she's wearing literal flowers on her dress. I called it. The thing that I don't like is like the hair, and I think the execution of the idea could have been better, but she followed the dress code and she took a risk. So you have to give it to her for that. Lil Nas X, I was waiting for him. I wanted to see something crazy because last year he gave it all. But this year, I don't know. It's boring. You're so used to seeing him wearing crazy stuff. And then this year, I don't know, I'm bored. I wanted to see something insane. Davine Joy Randolph. I'm going to say this. I love the shape of the dress. It's very beautiful and it feels very of a different time. But is that jean? The material of the dress, is it jean? Why jean? If it is jean, I'm just asking, is it jean? Why is she wearing jean? Because it's recycled or something? I don't see it. Is she following the dress code? I don't think so. Okay, Bad Bunny wearing Maison Margiela Artisanal. I'm gonna say this. Remember how I said I didn't want to see black? He's wearing black, but he's doing it in a very different way. He took a risk. He's wearing those sunglasses. He's wearing that hat. And he's wearing some flowers that you can barely see here. Is he following the dress code? I think so. And him being a co-share, he took a risk and I appreciate it. And I'm gonna say he's a slave because even though he wore black, he took it a step further. And that's what I meant. Like, if you're going to do something that we've seen 100 times, try to take it up a notch and give us something else. He's not wearing a black tuxedo, so yes.
Look like he defending Ratatouille or something. Or he about to steal the secret recipe. I don't know. Villain characteristics.
Está empezando lo más cabrón.
And the day is
Camila Cabello. The thing that I liked was that she was wearing an ice purse. When I was watching the stream, you could see it was dripping. And I think it's because in the story, The Garden of Time, they mentioned something like that. Hold on. So in The Garden of Time, the story, it says, Axel felt the flower melt like an ice cold bead of dew in his hand. So that's what I'm thinking. She got the idea of wearing a literal ice as a purse with the flower. I like that risk. But the dress himself, I don't know. Like, she could have taken it further. She could have done more. I feel like. Emma Chamberlain. When I tell you she ate, and I watched the Vogue video that they made about how they came up with this idea for the dress, and that's what I appreciate. Like, you can tell that she was very involved in the creation of the dress. She had a say, and her stylist specifically, I think he was the one that came up with the idea of something decaying. Like, you can tell that they really made their assignment. Like, she read the story, she followed the dress code, and they came up with such a beautiful dress. It's a slay. It's a slay. She looked beautiful, and that brown color on her looks so beautiful. That's what I meant. If you're going to do the decaying theme because of the story The Garden of Time, at the end everything decays and dies, I wanted to see brown, because when plants die they turn brown, not black. That's why I didn't want to see black. She did it. She nailed it. This just looks like they stuck a lot of random things from a garden with hot glue to her clothing. It looks very arts and crafts. Next we have Wisdom K. He's like a fashion TikToker. I love because he gave us color, he gave us flower, and he gave us the decay of those things. So he gave us the concept of time. So I really love it. This is a slay. Jessica Serfati. Again, this is looking arts and crafts. Looks like they hot glued a bunch of random flowers into her gown. And that's it. Called it a day. Next we have Mindy Kaling. When I saw this, I loved it. But I didn't like the color because, again, it's a garden. So I wanted to see color. But then she explained that this symbolizes the decaying flower. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. I love it because she gave us shape. She gave us something big. And she followed the dress code. So yes, this is a slay. Taylor Russell. I love that she took a risk and was wearing a wooden panel. I don't know how to say it. I think they could have made the bottom of the dress a little bit more exciting. I feel like the execution could have been better, but she took a risk and she followed the dress code. Elle Fanning. Oh my god. This I love because it looks like water. And I thought, oh, she's the lake of the story. She's a fountain. Yes, this is a slay. Chris Hemsworth being another co-share of the evening. It looks like he's going to the Hamptons. It's too simple. No, why? And he's beautiful. Like, you're one of the co-shares. Give me more. Carol G wearing custom Marc Jacobs. Like I said, I thought somebody was gonna do a fairy type of Tinkerbell theme, and she did. She was wearing pointy ears. She was giving Legolas from the Lord of the Rings. The one thing I'm going to say, those hips are not giving her the figure that I think she thought. Like, they're too high up, so they look a little bit weird on her. I think without those hips on her, this look would have been much better. Dan Levy, I saw a lot of people on TikTok talking about how they didn't like it. I like it because even though he's wearing black, he's showcasing the decay. We'll start at the bottom with the flowers blossoming, and then the flowers decay. At the top you have black, and he said it was all made of beads. I appreciate the effort. He followed the dress code. Yes. Doja Cat. Okay, when I saw Doja Cat, I was looking forward to her look because I think she always takes very cool risks that I like to see. But this one I was so confused because I was like, what is it? A white wet t-shirt? But then I saw when she explained what it was.
People are gonna do flowers, but my flower of choice is the most used flower, and it's cotton. I wanted to do a white t-shirt also because a white t-shirt is timeless, and it felt very poetic to choose this.
I was like, oh, okay, I see what she was trying to do. That being said though, if she had made, instead of a white t-shirt, a dress, say a halter top dress, and said that she was the wife of Count Axel after she turned into a statue, I think I would have liked it better. But still, I appreciate it. Like, I appreciate the effort and how she took the story and gave the story her little twist. I like that. Nicki Minaj. This is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see color. I wanted to see flowers. And also, I think this is very Nicki Minaj of her. Like, this is something that Nicki Minaj would wear. Like, it's giving Harajuku. You see? Like, it's giving Nicki Minaj. So yes, this is definitely a slay. She followed the dress code, but she still kept it true to who she is. Iris Law. She's giving butterfly. That's what I wanted to see. And she's giving color. She's giving black, but she's also giving some other colors. Yes, this is a slay. I love it. This one, Hanani Taylor. This is what I want to see. She's giving like exoskeletal insect crystallized. It looks beautiful. Precious Lee wearing Bad Binge Tong. I appreciate that she gave us wings. I appreciate that she gave us a shape. We have the lady with the clocks. She said, oh, this is the garden of time. The flowers control time. And she said, I'm gonna give you clocks. And she did it. And I liked it. She gave us time, literally. TikTok. This lady that she was wearing a golden butterfly something. This is what I want to see. Overall, somebody on my TikTok commented, you're expecting way too much from these people. And I think they were right. I think I was expecting something more fun, more colorful, given that the dress code is the Garden of Time. The dress code for this Met Gala was very easy and people could have done it better. But overall, this was so underwhelming, so boring. I wanted to see more. I wanted to see color. I wanted to see something big. I wanted to see something very extravaganza. This is supposed to be the creme de la creme of fashion. It was so boring. You know how I felt? You remember that TikTok of that mom painting her kids' toys beige color? That's how I felt.
This video is going viral after this mom decides to paint her toddler's Christmas tree from this to this.
Dress code was the Garden of Time. The Garden of Time. And you want to wear beige, nudes, and black? No. Okay, now I'm going to show you a few designs that I created when I first heard that the dress code was going to be the Garden of Time. This first design that I have here is inspired by the trumpet or bell flowers. The thing of the flower is at the bottom of the dress. I thought that somebody like Nicki Minaj would wear this very well with a bob. Next, this is inspired from the spider lily flower, and I chose that flower because that flower symbolizes death, you know, very Tokyo Ghoul Ken Kaneki coded. So I thought of a very simple red dress, and the skirt of the dress was going to be a bunch of those flowers around the dress. And then at the bottom, just some shoes with some mini spider lily flowers. For this one, I was imagining somebody like Hailey Bieber. I feel like she would wear something like this very, very well, because she has like the body for that, I feel. The next design I chose was the passion fruit flower or the passion flower, because at the end of the day, the story is about a couple living in a village, and they were a couple, so there's a hint of romance there. And the passion flower is the passion flower, so I was like, okay, it's basically the same thing. It's just the flower around the waist, it will be like a green dress, and the skirt of the dress will be the flower itself. With purple gloves and purple shoes, I thought of somebody like Jenny Kim. She would look beautiful in something like this. And the makeup, I wanted it to be like green eyeshadow, very out there, pink blush, pink lipstick, something very beautiful. The last design that I made is for the voodoo fuchsia flower. I just love that flower. I think the flower itself looks like a dress, so I just made a dress based on the flower. Literally, I imagined somebody with pink pastel hair and updo, something like this, and the makeup that I imagined to go with this dress was something very out there, something that I was expecting to see in the Met Gala, but unfortunately we didn't see. I think the closest we saw was Zendaya with her first look makeup, but a makeup that was very out there with a lot of graphic lines, colorful. And then the shoes, I wanted those spiky upwards shoes, just to make it more interesting, just to give more shape to the overall design. But what do I know? I'm just a girl, and this is just my opinion, okay? Let me know if there was a dress that I didn't mention that you actually like. Let me know if you agree or disagree. That's fine. We can agree to disagree. We don't have to agree on everything. We can have different opinions. But yeah, that was pretty much my video on the Met Gala 2024. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you when I see you, okay? Bye!